Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents The Trouble with Aliens by Christopher Anvil, edited by Eric Flint, narrated by Paul Heitsch. The War with the Outs. The Prisoner. Routine 04-12-2308, 1623 TCT. Staff. ComGen 4 to Op Chief GS Capital. Request permission Advanced Defense Line to System Code R3J, RPT R3J. Routine 04-13-2308, 07-15 TCT. Staff. Op Chief GS Capital to ComGen 4. Permission Advanced Defense Line to System Code R3J, RPT R3J. Refused. RPT refused. Urgent 04-14-2308, 150 TCT. Personal. ComGen 4 to Op Chief GS Capital. Stinko. It is vitally necessary that I take over R3J, RPT R3J, before the outs get here, STP. You know the size of my fleet, STP. Love to Tanya and kids. Martin M. Glick, ComGen 4. Routine 04-15-2308, 0730 TCT. Personal. Op Chief GS Capital to ComGen 4. Sorry, Mart, I can't let you do it, STP. R3J, RPT R3J is tough nut to crack, and not enough time to crack it, STP. Only quadrite in system is on 5th planet, STP. 2 previous attempts to take 5th planet aborted, STP. System as a whole is no good without quadrite, and we could not supply you from here, you know that, STP. Cannot have your forces in state of disorder with minor conflict going on when outs arrive, STP. I know your position, but R3J, RPT R3J is no solution, STP. Can only hope they will attack elsewhere, STP. Jackie is fine, STP. Young Mart has grown, STP. Good luck, STP. Stinko. J.J. Ristenko, Op Chief, GS. Vital 04-16-2308, 1632 TCT. Staff. ComGen 4 to all stations. U. Explosion. D308L564V013. U. Explosion. D308L562V013. U. Explosion. D308L560V013. U. Explosion. D308L562V015. U. Explosion. D308L562V011. Explosions simultaneous time of observation 04-16-2308, 1624 TCT. Vital transmit triple at 10-minute intervals. Urgent 04-16-2308, 1640 TCT. Personal. ComGen 4 to Op Chief GS Capital. Stinko. They are not going somewhere else. They are coming here, STP. If they get by me, there is nothing from here to Cap but the GR, and that will never hold them, STP. Their timing perfect, STP. Maximum confusion, STP. If they came any sooner, they could have voted in the election, STP. In circumstances desperately necessary to take R3J, RPT R3J, STP. Send permission before we waste more time, STP. Martin M. Glick, ComGen 4. Reply requested today. Office of the Secretary for Defense. Dear General Ristenko, as a member of the new President's Cabinet responsible for the overall direction of the defense effort, I am determined to acquire as soon as possible some appreciation of the overall strategic picture. So long as I do not understand the meaning of certain technical terms, this will be impossible. These terms are regarded as secret, and no civilian has any sure idea of their meaning until he is thrust into an office where his ignorance may be fatal. Looking at the dispatch copies which come to my office, I find the following terms I would like defined. A. Quadrite. B. GR. C. Cap. D. U. Explosion. E. Henkel sphere. F. SB. G. Abort. I also want a brief summary, on no more than 2 sheets of paper, of the overall defense strategy, a similar summary of known enemy capabilities, and a brief point-by-point comparison of our important weapons, considering not only quality but amounts and present and projected rates of production. You need not handle this yourself, but if you do not, I want you to check the papers before they come to me. You will be held personally responsible for their accuracy. Sincerely, James Cordovan, Secretary for Defense. 4/17/2308. Office of the Chief of Operation. Dear Mr. Secretary, quadrite is a crystalline substance used as fuel in the non-radioactive, or N drive. A small, safe quantity of radioactive material starts the reaction, which may be stopped by removal of this material. The mass radioactive, or R drive, is useless against the present enemy because he possesses a means of exploding it before our ships come into ordinary firing range. Thus, we use quadrite on warships. GR means General Reserve. Cap means capital. A U explosion is a large explosion of uranium or other radioactive material by the enemy's device, or occasionally by us. Henkel sphere is a large, self-contained unit carrying impulse torpedoes and magnetic inductive direction finders. SB means solar beam, a concentration of the rays of a sun for offensive or defensive purposes. Abort, as we use it, merely means fail. The overall defense strategy is simple. Our forces are located around the surface of a flattened, spheroidal defensive border. At the outer edge is a triple layer of warning devices, the U-markers, which explode on approach of the enemy. Next comes several layers of Henkel spheres, stretching from one sun system to the next. Each sun system is equipped with solar beams, so far as possible, so that these sun systems constitute strong points in the defense perimeter, or, if they are cut off, may function for some time as isolated fortresses in the enemy's rear. Behind this outer line of defense lie the fleets, which help service the Henkel spheres, fight to repair small breaches in the defensive perimeter, and in the event of large breaches, fall back in an orderly manner and assist in forming the next defensive line. As for the known enemy capabilities, and the comparison of their important weapons with ours, the first item to consider is their manner of attack. They come in huge masses of ships, moving at a tremendous velocity, and often making 2 nearly simultaneous attacks at far separated parts of our defense lines. A series of U explosions signals their penetration through successive lines of our U markers, and then they hurtle through the lines of Henkel spheres. The spheres automatically discharge their impulse torpedoes on pre-calculated courses, and at the same time our fleet on the spot sows a series of new layers of spheres along the estimated course of the enemy attack. There is no such thing as a general engagement between the two fleets, because ours is always too weak at the point of attack. It is guarding a vast area which the enemy can, if he chooses, attack at any chosen point with his full force. Usually, however, just as the situation becomes desperate and we feel compelled to rush the General Reserve to the spot, a second and even stronger attack strikes us at some widely separated point from the first. At this stage, all resemblance to plan and order ceases, and we are forced to resort to expediency. Fleets are rushed from all around the perimeter to the estimated position of the future enemy penetration. Solar beams are concentrated in a webwork across the line of enemy attack. It is impossible to generalize beyond this point. We do what we can. Usually we are forced to commit the fleet to battle at a heavy loss, which weakens us for the next attack. The enemy cuts a swath through the whole system, burns out a number of vitally important planetary centers en route, and erupts outward through some place which has already been stripped for defense elsewhere. After the enemy has gone, we draw together the bits and pieces, reapportion the weakened forces, and wait for the next blow. We know very little of enemy weapons, save that they are similar to ours and used in overwhelming concentrations. As for the enemy personnel, only one individual has been captured following a fluke individual dogfight in which Colonel A.C. Nielsen was killed and the enemy ship ruined. This enemy individual showed A. human form, very compact and muscular, with peculiar eyes, B. fantastic recuperative power with healing of very severe wounds, such as killed Colonel Nielsen, taking place spontaneously and practically visibly. C. Fanatic hostility, shown as soon as the individual recovered consciousness, and which was followed, apparently, by the use of some poison as the enemy's body then at once decomposed, too fast to permit further examination on the spot. As for our present rate of production, it is suitable to replace approximately 40% of the losses suffered during enemy attack. This refers to warship production. Production of the cheaper Henkel spheres would be quite respectable if it weren't for the fact that it takes ships to put the spheres in position. Projected production of ships was cut further in the last budget. As for recruitment of personnel, it is barely adequate to man the continually decreasing strength we are able to maintain. Training facilities are inadequate, but the need for men is so drastic we have no time for adequate training. The quality of recruits is poor, since the population does not believe the situation serious and thus has little respect for the services. I hope this answers your questions satisfactorily. I shall be glad to help you in any way I can. Respectfully, J.J. Ristenko, Chief of Operations. 417-2308, Office of the Secretary for Defense. Bart, I am enclosing an answer from General Ristenko, the Chief of Operations, to some questions of mine. I hope you will read it now and let me know what you think. Unless Ristenko is exaggerating for some reason, this is worse than we ever imagined. Jim Cordovan. 417-2308, Office of the President. Jim, this is horrible. Let me know immediately if you find out anything more about this. Bart. Immediate action. 417-2308, Office of the President. General Ristenko, report to my office immediately unless you are occupied with matters of vital importance. Barton Baruch. 417-2308, Office of the President. Jim, Ristenko is all right, but our predecessors have gutted the defense establishment to balance the budget. Cabinet meeting tonight at 8:30. Bart. Urgent 04-16-2308-2210 TCT. Personal. ComGen 4 to Op Chief GS Capital. Stinko, my position hopeless here in present circumstances, STP. Only justification for inaction was to avoid involvement in minor war and thus inability to reinforce if attack came elsewhere, STP. Attack is coming here, STP. If I stay where I am like a mouse in an unblocked hole with the weasel coming on the run, STP. I can't hold them here, STP. This time they will go all the way to Cap, STP. Stinko, I hope your permission is on way as I am going to take R3J, RPT R3J, or die trying, STP. Love to Tanya and the kids, STP. Good luck if they get through, Stinko, STP. Mart. Martin M. Glick, ConGen 4. Routine 04-17-2308-1100 TCT. Staff. Op Chief GS Capital to ComGen 4. In absence of General Ristenko, my duty to inform Lieutenant General Glick no permission to advance to R3J, RPT R3J, was sent or contemplated, STP. In event you advance contrary to reiterated commands to contrary, my duty to inform you you are hereby relieved of command and hereby ordered to turn over command to Deputy ComGen 4 as prescribed, RGC 6-143J, Section 14, STP. Q. L. Gorley, Colonel for General J.J. Ristenko, Op Chief GS. Routine 04-18-2308, 1625 TCT. Staff. ComGen 4 to OpChief GS Capital. All receiving apparatus out of order, STP, possibly by enemy action, STP. Advance elements of Fleet 4 approaching system code R3J, RPT R3J. Vital 04-18-2308, 1640 TCT. Staff. ComGen 4 to all stations. U-Explosion D288 L564 V103. U-Explosion D288 L562 V103. U-Explosion D288 L560 V103. U-Explosion D288 L562 V105. U-Explosion D288 L562 V099. Explosions simultaneous time of observation 04-18-2308, 1635 TCT. Vital transmit triple at 10-minute intervals. Reply requested immediately. 4-18-2308. Office of the Secretary for Defense. General Ristenko. As you know, OpChief dispatches move through my office as a routine, so I will know what your office is doing. Now I want to know why this General Glick is being kept on a short leash. I have gone over a set of star charts, and if I can make anything out of them, this system, R3J, is a vital link in your defense system. Who is this QL Gorley colonel who sent the order removing General Glick? Why did he send the order? Are you dodging the responsibility for it? Unless you are occupied in vital matters, I want the answers to these questions by tube within 15 minutes. J. Cordovan, Secretary for Defense. 4-18-2308. Office of the Chief of Operations. Dear Mr. Secretary, I had no knowledge of Gorley's action till you called it to my attention. I am reinstating Glick immediately. Ristenko. Vital 04-18-2308, 1125 TCT. Staff. OpChief GS Capital to ComGen 4. By order General J.J. Ristenko, OpChief GS, effective immediately, Lieutenant General Martin M. Glick is, RPT is, in full command Sector 4, STP. By order General J.J. Ristenko, OpChief GS, full discretion, RPT, full discretion granted, RPT, granted Lieutenant General Martin M. Glick, ComGen 4, including RPT, including any actions regarding system code R3J, RPT R3J, time of original order 04-18-2308, 1125 TCT. Vital, transmit triple at 30-minute intervals. Urgent, 04-18-2308, 1128 TCT. Personal. OpChief GS Capital to ComGen 4. My God, Mart, I am sorry. STP. Your reasoning regarding R3J, RPT R3J is perfectly correct. STP. Gorley acted without my knowledge. STP. We are in midst of change of administration here. STP. Some confusion. STP. You have full authority. STP. Do what you want. STP. Best of luck, and God be with you. STP. Stinko. J.J. Ristenko, OpChief GS. 4-18-2308. Office of the Chief of Operations. Dear Mr. Secretary, I have sent orders reinstating General Glick and giving him full authority to take System R3J. 2 previous attempts to take the only planet in the system that possesses quadrite have failed, with no survivors returning, but it is worth trying. Ristenko. Reply requested immediately. 4-18-2308. Office of the Secretary for Defense. General Ristenko. That is fine. What about my questions concerning Colonel Gorley? J. Cordovan. 4-18-2308. Office of the Chief of Operations. Dear Mr. Secretary, Colonel Gorley was sent here by the former president. He acted in an advisory and liaison capacity between this office and that of the former president. I know his action in this instance has proved to be unfortunate, but he was entirely justified by regulations covering the situation. I was with the President at the moment, and immediate action was necessary to maintain the balance of the situation. Respectfully, J.J. Rustenko, Chief of Operations. Reply requested immediately. 4/18/2308, Office of the Secretary for Defense. General Rustenko, do you mean that Gourley advised the former president on matters of defense, J. Cordovan? 4/18/2308, Office of the Chief of Operations. Mr. Secretary, that is what I mean, yes. J.J. Rustenko, Chief of Operations. 4/18/2308, Office of the Secretary for Defense. Bart, I am enclosing some correspondence between myself and Rustenko regarding a Colonel Q.L. Gourley, who has just taken a step I regard as well calculated to throw our defense arrangements off balance at the decisive moment. I am enclosing the dispatch referred to. You will note that Rustenko takes a progressively stiffer tone in protecting Gourley. Personally, I think if Gourley was defense advisor to the previous administration, he must be no good. Jim. Reply requested today, 4/18/2308, Office of the Secretary for Defense. Comptroller of the Records. I would like a digest of all pertinent data in the service record of Colonel Q.L. Gourley, now attached to the Office of the Chief of Operations. James Cordovan, Secretary for Defense. 4/18/2308, Office of the President. Jim, I have been in office 3 days and it feels like 3 years, all thanks to the miserable defense picture. If you think Gourley is no good, select some distant and unimportant asteroid and put him in charge of it. Don't bother me with this trivia. Bart. P.S. The time on this dispatch from Gourley to Glick is 1100. Rustenko was not with me then. 4/19/2308, Comptroller of the Records. Dear Mr. Secretary, I have been able to ascertain that there is a Colonel Q.L. Gourley attached to the Chief of Operations office, but the master recorder merely remains blank when I try to obtain his service record. No Colonel Q.L. Gourley is listed in the officer's registry. There is a Q.S. Gourley, captain, now serving with the 10th Fleet, and a Brigadier General Mason Gourley, retired. Upon code-checking the rolls of the National Space Academy at Bristol Bay, I find no mention of any Q.L. Gourley within the last 100 years. It is possible to bar access to the service record of any individual if the President or Secretary for Defense approves the action, but this is not the case here. There simply is no record. Do you wish me to cross-check the coded administration records of the past few years to see if any mention is made of this man in these records? Respectfully, Ogden Manenberg, Comptroller of the Records. Reply requested today, 4/19/2308, Office of the Secretary for Defense. Comptroller of Records. Yes, by all means, cross-check the administrative records back to the time Gourley was first mentioned. James Cordovan, Secretary for Defense. Immediate action, 4/19/2308. Office of the Secretary for Defense. Bertie, get down to the Chief of Operations office and play the part of the Undersecretary getting acquainted with the team. Find out all you can about a Colonel Q.L. Gourley, who is now attached to the Op Chief's office. Gourley appears to have no service record, and I am a little curious about him. Jim. Routine 04/19/2308, 2300 TCT. Staff. ComGen 4 to Op Chief GS. Capital Fleet 4 now based on 2nd RPT 2nd Planet of System Code R3J RPT R3J STP. SB being placed now, STP. Advance Hankel Sphere Perimeter being heavily reinforced, STP. Bulk of Fleet 4 now moving to occupy 5th RPT 5th Planet of System Code R3J RPT R3J. Routine 04/19/2308, 2314 TCT. Personal. ComGen 4 to Op Chief GS Capital. Stinko, I have occupied the 2nd planet of R3J, RPT R3J, and find populace and government friendly and eager to help, STP. They had civilization based on fission 500 years ago, but the outs went through here and knocked them into a, quote, pile of dung, end quote, STP. They had space travel, but kept away from Fifth Planet, as had no need for quadrite, which is only attraction, STP. All they can tell me is that one of their religious leaders predicted my arrival and said of the Fifth Planet, quote, he who will feed on it shall live of it, STP, end quote. Sounds good, STP. Am en route now, STP. Martin M. Glick, ComGen 4. 419, 2308, Office of the Undersecretary for Defense. Jim, I have covered the situation for you down at the Op Chief's office, and I am sure you must be mistaken about Colonel Gorley. He seems straightforward and solid, and explained the defense setup to me in such a way that, for the first time, it made sense to me. I can think of no one we might pick who would make a better advisor to the President on military matters. As for Colonel Gorley having no service record, the idea is fantastic. Several of the officers present spoke familiarly to Gorley of events which happened while he and they were at Bristol Bay together in their academy days. It could hardly be a case of mistaken identity. Colonel Gorley is a very striking man, very compact and muscular, a very powerful, magnetic, dynamic type. He has peculiarly keen, intelligent eyes and an incisive, clear, positive manner of speaking. Personally, I think that instead of investigating Gorley, we should raise him to high rank and get a little decision into the war effort. Bertie. P.S. The only thing resembling criticism I have heard of Gorley was a joking reference that he has a ferocious appetite and has to diet constantly to keep his weight down. Surely you won't hold this against him. Routine 0420 2308 0756 TCT. Staff, ComGen 4 to Op Chief GS Capital. Advance Elements Fleet 4 have landed on Planet 5, RPT 5, of System Code R3J, RPT R3J. No opposition, STP. Only inhabitants appear to be grazing animals of intermediate size. 420 2308, Comptroller of the Records. Dear Mr. Secretary, I list below, in chronological order, the portions of past administrative records apparently referring to Colonel Q.L. Gorley. 425-2304. Thank you so much for sending me Colonel Gorley. The defense position is more clear to me. President to Op Chief. 54-2304. I approve the new plan of dynamic containment. I was a bit uncertain as to the effect this would have should the enemy renew offensive action, but Colonel Gorley has assured me it will be possible to concentrate reserves quickly. On this basis, I approve the plan. Certainly, it seems much less risky. President to Op Chief. 223-2305. I do not understand your difficulties in repelling the latest enemy attack. What exactly has happened here? Why were you not able to concentrate your reserves quickly enough to prevent the enemy from traversing the whole length and breadth of the system and leaving a trail of ruin behind him such as we have not seen in 20 years of warfare? Who ordered these cuts in production? What do you mean you cannot replace the losses? I have no memory of these executive orders you speak of, or of any Colonel Gorley. Send this man to me immediately, or better yet, come yourself. President to Op Chief. 224-2305. Colonel Gorley has explained the matter to me satisfactorily. Of course, it is unfortunate that these things happen. President to Op Chief. 61-2305. Colonel Gorley will explain to you the recommended new cuts in the defense budget. The improved foreign situation makes these cuts possible. Op Chief to President. 42-2306. Ristenko, these losses are horrible. Why has this thing happened twice? The purpose of censorship is not to hold the people in ignorance and hide the festering wounds from view. The point of censorship is to keep information from the enemy and to prevent over-violent public reaction to unimportant temporary reversals. But these disasters are not unimportant. They are terrible defeats. I find your reaction grossly inadequate. Who is this Gorley you are sending to me, as if this would correct the situation? President to Op Chief. 44-2306. Colonel Gorley has explained the matter to me satisfactorily. I see now clearly it was bound to happen in this phase of our defensive effort. President to Op Chief. 6-2-2306. I approve the new defense budget as explained to me by...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?